Hello, friends. This is Darren Hayes of Pigskin.com. Before we take you to your favorite Sports History Network show, just want to tell you a little bit about some merch that you can pick up that represents your favorite SHN podcast. So far, there's t-shirts, coffee mugs, and even books from some of the authors that do podcasts right here on SHN. Who could buy something better than that, than have the history right from the gentleman that you hear talking about it? But we also are adding things each and every day. And where's that store, may you ask? Well, it's at SportsHistoryNetwork.com. Up at the top, there is the SHN merch button. Click on that. It'll take you right to the store, and you can be representing your favorite podcast and show the world that, hey, on the swag that I'm using, it's the headquarters of sports yesteryear, Sports History Network, and my favorite podcaster, the Sports History Network store. Shop there today. Now it's time to take a sports break, a look at sports history on a daily basis. Hello, my friends of sports history. This is Darren Hayes of the Sports Jersey Dispatch podcast. Welcome once again to the Pig Pen, your place for all things great in sports history. And we are here to talk about some great November 2nd history with some of the greatest athletes performing some of the greatest things in football, baseball, hockey, and basketball history that you will be amazed at, and we'll talk about in just a second. But make sure that you know that you can send us some feedback at our email, pigskindispatch@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. Like to answer each and every one of the correspondence that comes through to us, and like I said, love to hear from you. Now, these uniform numbers, there is a bunch of them that we're going to talk about for November 2nd in this sports break. Numbers are 4, 9, 7, 17, 12, 32, 44, 11, 37, 45, 25, 99, 42, 48, 33, 21, 24, and number 18. It all starts November 2nd, 1913, and the St. Louis Browns player manager George Stovall was fired the previous summer and was the first Major League Baseball player to jump to the Federal League, a competitive league to the National and American Leagues, and he was signed to manage the Kansas City Packers of that Federal League. November 2nd, 1938, Boston Red Sox first baseman number 4, Jimmy Fox, is voted the most valuable player of the American League for the third time in his career. November 2nd, 1947, just 6 games of the season, Chicago Blackhawks traded the National Hockey League scoring leader Max Bentley along with Cy Thomas to the Toronto Maple Leafs for Gus Bodner, Bud Poyle, Gay Stewart, Bob Goldham, and Ernie Dickens. No uniforms were mentioned there because, unfortunately, our sources don't have NHL uniforms prior to 1950, even though they did wear them. I just don't have the information to give you. But I do for November 2nd, 1960, when the New York Yankees outfielder Roger Maris, wearing number 9, ended up outlasting and defeating teammate number 7, Mickey Mantle, for the American League Most Valuable Player Award. 225 to 222 was the voting. Second closest vote ever for an American League Most Valuable Player. November 2nd, 1969, a 41-year-old Detroit right winger, number 9, Gordie Howe, picks up his 19th and final National Hockey League hat trick as the Red Wings defeated the Pittsburgh Penguins 4-3. Howe is the oldest player to score an NHL hat trick, even to this day. November 2nd, 1969, quarterbacks number 17, Billy Kilmer of New Orleans Saints, and St. Louis Cardinals number 12, Charlie Johnson, each passed for 6 touchdowns for combined National Football League record of 12 passing TDs in a game as the Saints beat the Cardinals 51-42 at Busch Memorial Stadium in St. Louis. November 2nd, 1971, the Baltimore Orioles pitcher Pat Dobson, number 37, he threw a no-hitter against Yomiuri Giants. 2-0 was the win. First no-hitter in history of exhibition play between American and Japanese teams, as they used to play those quite often in the offseason. November 2nd, 1972, the Philadelphia Phillies pitcher number 32, Steve Carlton, he's going to be in the news a lot today. He was unanimously selected as a National League Cy Young Award winner. He won 27 games for the Phillies that year, and who was a team only won 59 games, so he had almost 50% of their wins was when he pitched. November 2nd, 1974, Atlanta Braves traded them then Major League Baseball home run king number 44, Hank Aaron, to the Milwaukee Brewers for outfielder number 11, Dave May. It's interesting, Aaron got his start when the Braves were in Milwaukee. Now he went to the Brewers near the end of his career. November 2nd, 1975, the first sports event at the Summit Arena in Houston. The NBA's Houston Rockets defeated the Milwaukee Bucks 104-89, and future Rockets coach number 45, Rudy Tomjanovich, was the leading scorer in the contest with 24 points. Kind of an ironic situation there. November 2nd, 1977, the Philadelphia Phillies, that pitcher Steve Carlton, still wearing 32 on his chest, won his second Cy Young Award, scoring just a tad higher than number 25, Tommy John of the LA Dodgers. Carlton leads the National League with 23 wins and posts a 2.64 ERA for that season. November 2nd, 1978, number 99 Wayne Gretzky's rights were sold to the Edmonton Oilers after just 8 games with the Indianapolis Racers of the WHA, where he scored 6 points with them. He ended up scoring 104 points in 72 games with both teams combined, the WHA and the NHL, and is named the WHA Rookie of the Year, only playing 6 games in that league. November 2nd, 1985, Tulsa's Gordon Brown, number 42, 214 yards. And Steve Gage, who wore number 48 with his 206 yards rushing, set an NCAA football record for combined rushing yards in one game for 2 teammates who gained more than 200 yards each in a 42-26 victory for Tulsa at Wichita State. November 2nd, 1988, the A's shortstop Walt Weiss, number 17, won the American League Rookie of the Year, and it ended up being the 3rd straight year for the Oakland Athletics to win that Rookie of the Year. Of course, Jose Canseco, number 33, won it in 1986, followed by Mark McGuire in 1987, and he wore number 25. November 2nd, 1997, Eric Metcalf, number 21 for the San Diego Chargers, returned a punt for touchdowns, one of 85 yards, then one of 67 yards, and a 38-31 loss to Cincinnati's Bengals. He joins Hall of Famer Jack Christensen, number 24, as the only players in National Football League history to return punts for touchdowns twice in a single game. November 2nd, 2002, Mark Messier, number 11, played in his 1616th NHL game, a 3-2 Rangers loss against the St. Louis Blues to move into second place on the all-time games played list, passes Larry Murphy, and ends his career with 1,756 games, which was just 11 shy of the great Gordie Howe. We talked about him earlier, number 9 of the Red Wings. November 2nd, 2011, Portuguese striker number 7, Cristiano Ronaldo, scored his 100th goal for the Real Madrid team in his 105th game for the club with a 2-0 Champions League win over Olympique Lyon. In November 2nd, 2016, a World Series game, Chicago Cubs defeated the Cleveland Indians 8-7 in Game 7 at Progressive Field in Cleveland. It was the first Cubs title in 108 years. Most valuable player was Chicago Cubs utility man Ben Zobrist, number 18 was his jersey number. November 2nd, 2021. World Series action, Atlanta Braves won their 4th title in franchise history, defeating the Houston Astros 7-0 in Game 6 at Minute Maid Park there in Houston. It was a 4-2 series victory. MVP was Braves outfielder number 12, Jorge Soler. And that is your sports history, your sports break for November 2nd. Glad you could join us for this little bit of history in sports and some great athletes, great jersey numbers as well. Till tomorrow, everybody, have a great sports history day. This penalty kill is almost over. I got to get back out on the ice. But thanks again for joining us for another great edition of Sports Jersey Dispatch Podcast. We'll see you tomorrow. We invite you to check out our websites, jerseydispatch.com and pigskindispatch.com. Not only see the daily sports history, but to experience the preservation of great events and people that play the games. Find us on Pigskin Dispatch. It's also on social media outlets of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel. You get all your daily sports history. Pigskin Dispatch is happy to be associated with the Sports History Network, the sports headquarters of yesteryear, found at sportshistorynetwork.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com. Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, We're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.